Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Shirtless Plantain Show, the Scouting Edition. This is your host, Dean, and I am here with Coach. Coach Loki, this is an Arsenal Scouting Edition, isn't it? Let's
Oh, of
just call it
course.
what it is. While we cover as much as we can throughout the world of football and we watch everything, at the end of the day, we're Arsenal fans. So we're only going to do detailed scouting on specific players. So forgive
Mm.
us, or don't. Just watch the shit and share with your friends. Coach, how you been, man?
I've been good. I've been good. It's been a really busy sort of period of the year personally, but also in the football world as well. And it's just been very hard to kind of balance everything. But yeah, more I want to say more stuff to come, and just yeah, look out for it.
Yeah, stick with us, folks. Stick with us. We're still here. We're still here. It's time to talk about some players that have been recently linked to Arsenal. Last week, we got lots of reports that Cristhian Mosquera, a 21-year-old currently based at Valencia, came out of their youth system, has been capped by many Spanish youth teams, has now been linked with Arsenal. Valencia were going to try to renew his contract, but he has refused the contract renewal, and he has asked the club to negotiate with Arsenal as he currently has 1 year left on his deal. So Arsenal are looking to get him for somewhere around, I believe, 20 million euros or less, and Valencia obviously want as much as they can get out of him. That said, it's time to look at the player and figure out why the club is interested in him. So, coach, what sort of profile is this guy?
Big and black.
Pause.
Yeah. But yeah, it's to me it's a no brainer in terms of how Arsenal defend. We have to remember when you back, not all centre backs are created equal in the way that oh, it's just centre back, you can play him anywhere kind of thing. Some centre backs are two at the back, some centre backs are three at the back, some centre backs like to play high, some centre backs are good in a deep block kind of thing, and he fits the profile of how Arsenal want to defend primarily. We're a team that wants to press high. We're a team that wants to be aggressive, and we're a team that wants to kind of physically dominate you, as well as obviously dominate with the ball as well. And he definitely fits into that mold, for sure. That's without the ball. With it, he's very obviously. You can see straight away some of these passes he doesn't mind. He doesn't mind going long. He doesn't mind, baiting the press as well, and then knocking it around the player. That's why I think Arsenal have looked at, and also the age as well. He's malleable. You can pretty much turn him into whatever you like, given that the physical tools are already there as well.
Okay. Okay. Um, we're looking at his stats together earlier, and I don't know if you want to put that screen up
Mm.
and pause the comp for a little bit, but he's just outside the top 20th percentile for carries. Given that both of our center backs, Gabriel and Saliba, are quite adept at carrying the ball, do you think this factor played a part in us targeting this player?
Um, yeah. There's that. Like I mentioned before, there's all sorts of types of defenders that you wanna get for your team, but I think one of the key things here is the fact that you don't want him to be too different from what you have already. Age is really going to be there. He's younger than Saliba, and Saliba's still very young for a centre back already. But you want him to be able to come in and be like, oh, okay, I can learn from this player because we've got similar sort of attributes. So, I'm weaker here, and this is where he's really strong, kind of thing. Even though um, he's got years of experience on me, kind of thing. So, I'm always in a camp of make things easy for the players, basically. And square pegs and square holes. Don't overcomplicate shit. It's a science to make shit easy. Like it really is a science. And I feel like we get caught up in the super duper technicalities of shit when you don't have to. You can make things really, really easy. But yeah.
Okay, okay. Thanks, coach. What based on the comp, I mean that we're currently watching and flipping between the stats and the comp, like what would you say his best quality is? Like what's his
Uh,
superpower? Because I feel like when you're assigning a youngish player, they almost have to have some sort of superpower,
yeah.
that you can say, okay, if
Yeah.
if nothing else works out, he can do this really well. What is that to you, or what are those things?
It's his pace, it's his recovery, I think, for sure.
Mm.
Um if I had to yeah. For the things, if I had to put a second thing there, I think it will probably be his willingness to pretty much play wherever he's asked as well, which is a skill, believe it or not. A lot of players don't have that. Um, Willing to just do that at a young age to me is always a good sign because that it really shows that you're a team player. Um, and football's a team sport basically. But yeah, I think his recovery pace for sure is probably his superpower. And if it's not that, it's his willingness to be pretty much go wherever the coach tells him to.
That's fair. Um, we're looking, we're watching this comp, and it seems that he's a below average tackler when it comes to engaging his man.
Mm,
Obviously, this is something we're going to have to work on and improve. And in
mm,
addition, I haven't seen enough in the comps, and they're not going to show the weaknesses and comps that we see on YouTube. Shout out Brazil Scout, by the way. But I've heard that he's terrible in the air. Like he's like abject at heading.
mm.
How quickly do you expect these things to improve once he joins a club like Arsenal?
He's got no choice if Gabriel is someone that he's gonna be learning from. He literally has no choice. By osmosis, he should become a 50% better headerer just by standing in the same room as Gabriel's teeth. You know, that's my thing. Like you won't be able to even from a offensive perspective. One of our centre backs like can't header the ball. Like yeah, that's got to change. But it also shows as well that Arteta isn't just out here looking for the perfect player. Like he's happy to work with players and and polish them up and whatever. Which is something that he was accused of. Not looking for like the sort of perfect signing and blah blah blah. Look, there's plenty of talent out there. They're never going to be the finished product. Even some of the players that we've been linked with that are fantastic already, they still got things to work on as well. So yeah.
That's fair. Like I think the most one of the most instructive periods under Mikel's leadership of the club was when he converted Xhaka to a different position and asked him to do different things. And it's like a player that far along in his career found a way to improve his game. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody can improve. Really, it's just about the mindset and the willingness to approach new skills and try to learn new things and to execute when you have the opportunity. So for a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old, like we're a ways away from him reaching his peak. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask, we talked about different kinds of center backs earlier. Like some guys are better in a three, some guys are better in a two. One of the my most common shorthand personally for judging center backs is cat versus dog. Like dog would be someone like Gabriel who wants to engage with his man and be very assertive and dive into tackles. And the cat is someone like Saliba that sweeps up behind. That's probably the better passer. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
The division between those two sorts of players is not always super clean in a partnership. But at Arsenal, you could argue, not even argue. I think it's fairly obvious that Saliba is the passer and
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel is the violence. I'll kill you, and if I don't kill you, my buddy will clean you up after.
Mm-hmm.
Which profile does this guy suit? I know he's versatile, but watching him, which one do you think he best suits, cat or dog?
I think he's probably the cat, to be honest. Just if we're looking at the total package, the fact that he's not super great at engaging his man and stuff like that, like even that last clip just now kind of thing, he went out wide kind of thing after, the ball was forced out there kind of thing, rather than him going out to engage the first pass. He's gone there to engage after that. They've been forced wide. So again, here's a similar thing as well. Like, look what the cover he's got behind him. Do you know what I mean? Uh, so I'm very much in the camper. I think he's right now he's the cat for sure. And I think as well, being the dog, it comes with experience. I think being a dog is very much a job that requires experience because you need to be able to read the game. So yeah.
Like you don't think that's more of a you don't think that's more of a nature versus nurture thing? With like a player's aggression. Like I feel like you either have it or you don't. Like you don't become, And again, this is just a fan's theory. I don't know exactly how this works, but I feel like there are just certain things that are
I
innate
think I
to
lost you
players.
there,
Like
gone.
yeah, no one can teach Gabriel to do what he does. As far as like
Mm,
being super aggressive
yeah.
in the air and heading the ball, that's just something that's within him that he's then honed. I don't know that you can teach a player how to be like that. Do you think that's the case, or am I underestimating the power of coaching?
Um, I definitely okay. So put it like this. You're right because if you want to use Ben White for example, one of the reasons why we signed him was because of how aggressive he was, despite his demeanor. One of the reasons why we signed him was how aggressive he was. He didn't become that aggressive at Arsenal. It was one of the reasons why we signed him. So you're right in that regard. But I definitely do think there's scope to grow there. Like, you're never ever gonna be like just one thing your entire career. But yeah, depending on his partner, he might need to be the dog in some cases, But I just feel like at this stage of his career, yeah, be the cat, like, and just improve at that, be great at that, and then see what we can do afterwards.
Okay. How does this guy, if Arsenal were to get him, how does he fit into the squad in your mind? Like, are we looking at the potential for Kivior to leave then? Is that what's going to happen? Or is
No,
this somebody that we've always needed?
I think it's the Tomiyasu replacement, man. Like, if we're being frank, it's the Tom. Like, shout out to Tomiyasu. Like, didn't work out for him, but that squad space is now very much officially full. Um, so yeah, it's surely, and it makes sense as well, because when we signed Tomiyasu is still young now. He's like what, 25, maybe 26.
26, I think. 26,
He's
yes.
26, and we signed him in 2022, right? So we signed him when he was 22, 23. So it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. The reason why, like, yeah, we're getting in for him. A versatile centre back that's young, that's not gonna be crying for minutes every weekend, but will be needed and required. To make sure that our actual, first teamers,
Starters.
are well rested and are fresh for important periods of the season. So yeah, I'm very much pleased with the thinking there. Whether the player is the right player, just going off what we've seen and just the theory of it, he absolutely is to me. But football is played on a pitch, not on paper. And yeah, I'm excited about the prospect though. He's another big. Me, like, I love big physical specimens anyway, especially in the centre backs. Like, yeah, bring him along.
Pause that.
Bring him along for sure. Yeah, that was
Pause.
crazy still.
That was crazy work, as the kids say.
Mm,
One final question before we move on to the main event, if you will.
yeah,
The last time we did this, and the first time we
mm,
did this, we examined Jorel Heto and Alessandro Ribeiro. Um,
yeah.
if you're ranking those three prospects, how would you rank them? Like Ribeiro, Heto, and Mosquera. Like, it looks like Mosquera is going to happen, but in order of your personal preference, which is
It's
the
still
best player
Hato.
to you?
It's still Hato, and best based off experience is Ribeiro, and then after that it would be Mosquera. But the good thing is that these are all really good players. It's not like you're choosing between shit, shit, and shit, which tells us that our scouting department is doing the correct thing. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and to be fair, when I heard of the link to Arsenal, that wasn't the first time I'd heard of this kid. Like,
Mm,
I know that other clubs were interested as well, so that's somewhat comforting.
mm.
But yeah, over to the main event. Eberechi Eze, our fellow Nigerian, not a fellow Yoruba man, but close enough. Close enough. Like he's like Ethan, but dark skin. All right, so we're gonna do Brazil Scout again. Let's hit this. Oh man, let's see if coach's internet works properly.
Oh no,
While we wait on that to load up.
we've just been
Yeah,
throttled
it's been
by
tricky.
yeah, but
Yeah, there we go.
I,
There we go. Now hit that pause. Let's talk a little bit about Eberechi Eze. I think almost anyone that's watching this that happens to be an Arsenal fan probably knows a little bit about this player already. I mean, he has a fairly well-established reputation within the Premier League. He's one of the most entertaining players to watch. Has been since he was at QPR before he got to Crystal Palace. He just turned, I believe, 26 this week.
27
This last week that just passed. 27,
or
you
20,
said?
yeah, just turned 27. Yeah.
27. Okay, so all right, Berta, make sure you get the price drop based on that because he's 26 until he's 27. That's how it works.
Mm,
But he finished last season with 15 goals and 11 assists. That's the kind of production we need at Arsenal. But more so than the production, coach, I think it's really the profile. That's something we've been lacking. I think as we're both children of Arsene Wenger, we're used to a
mm,
certain kind of not just one type. We typically have multiple playmakers
mhm,
within the squad at any given time, whether they're starters or not. And as things currently stand, all we really have, or all we really had last season was Martin Odegaard, because
mhm.
I refuse to put that sort of pressure on a 17-year-old in Ethan Nwaneri. So I think this is a player we need. That said, where exactly do you see him fitting into the squad?
Put it like this: there's so many ways we can use this guy that doesn't involve the left wing. Let's just be clear, right? And that's the most exciting thing about it. So primarily, I see him where our best central midfielder is, which is Declan Rice. But it doesn't mean Declan Rice still can't play with him, basically. That's why you have a squad. Um, but yeah, I see him as the left centre mid, for sure. And one of the key things about him playing there is whoever we put around him on the left hand side will have consistent service and supply because of his style of play. That's the one thing we can guarantee. So him being there automatically, I think, makes whoever plays left wing and left back better straight away. So yeah.
I can't doubt that. Well,
Mm,
you mentioned his style of play.
mm,
Let's see his style of play. Let's see, I mean, we all know what he looks like. I mean, we all
mm,
know how he plays like, but go ahead and hit that play, coach, and let's
mm,
see what he plays like. And I suppose where I see him fitting into the squad would be on the left wing at the moment, because I just don't see us eliminating Declan Rice from our starting lineup.
No, of
That
course.
said, where else, like when you're making the list of the places, because this is clearly a very talented player, so that means he's probably very versatile. Where else do you see him fitting in our lineup?
Um, if we go to a double pivot, he'd be our number 10. So that's another place. There's also a universe where he plays where Martin Odegaard plays. But I mean, look, one of the key things here. So look, that's just a first time shot. The ball's bounced. There's no thinking about it. This is kind of what Arsenal don't have. We'll look at this goal here as well. Yeah, look. So he's essentially picked up the ball on a counter attack, and he's fashioned the chance for himself as the attacking midfielder, not the forward, but as the attacking midfielder. This is what we don't have in those positions of the pitch. Do you understand what I mean? Like even here as well, like he's doing it off his weaker foot as well, and he's releasing the big man into space. There's so many instances where this translates to Arsenal. All of this, regardless of how much space he gets at Palace and whatever else kind of thing, the quality is still there. Do you know what I mean? So that's my thinking.
Um, you said translate to Arsenal. Like,
Mm,
it, I feel like this is sort of player that could fit into any team in Europe right now.
mm,
I think he'd be
mhm,
useful to any manager. That said, I don't know that you're going to spend 60 million on somebody and
mhm.
not have them, at least get like copious opportunities. So who's most at risk? Like like is this a Martinelli thing? Is this an Odegaard thing? Like who is most at risk of losing minutes to this guy at Arsenal?
I don't know if that's the right question though. If we're being honest, and this current squad composition, let's say there is no other wide player coming in at all, then yeah, it would most likely be Martinelli, let's say, right? But my thing is that Arsenal's problem, and Arteta's highlighted it, is that our creativity down the sides isn't really the biggest issue. Our creativity through the middle of the pitch is. And while him playing wide might actually solve some of those central sort of progressive um issues, it doesn't actually help, for example, the wide issue that we have on the left. Do you understand what I mean? Put it like this. Let's just do a profile sort of um exercise here with who we want, right? So on the right hand side, we've got Saka, that's fine. 1v1 demon will create every sort of chance that you want all day long, yeah? Cool. Through the center of the pitch, when he's playing well, um, Odegaard can create cool through the center of the pitch, no problem, right? And then you come to the left hand side, whether it's Declan Rice at LCM or whether it's Martinelli at left wing kind of thing, there is a creativity sort of black hole there. Do you know what I mean? So for me, there needs to be someone there that is a consistent creator in that side of the pitch, regardless. So for me, it has to be Eze has to play. It doesn't mean Declan Rice doesn't play, obviously not, kind of thing. But he has to play, especially in those really, really bloody annoying games, like against this team here that we've seen here against Nottingham Forest. He has to play in these sorts of games. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm not really care. I'm not too precious about who messes out as long as those central issues are fixed. You know.
Yeah, but ultimately, I think we're sort of tiptoeing around it. I don't see him fitting into any other role.
Mm.
at least initially, given the
Mm,
current squad. Now, if someone like Rodrigo comes in, then the conversation becomes a little more complicated, in
mm,
addition to Eze. But
mm.
I just think he's the left winger basically, and I think while he's not a natural touchline winger, I think he does a more than solid enough job off the touchline. And with the right people around him, like I can see a world where he and Calafiori are cutting all kinds of crazy shapes and just destroying deep blocks. Like I would love that so much. That said, given his production, his profile and production, is there a possibility that there aren't enough sort of shots or opportunities to go around in that area of the pitch? If you have him, you have Rice, you have someone like potentially Gyökeres, who we'll probably talk about in the very near future, pulling out to the left wing. Like, who's getting all the shots in that area? I mean, I know he's a generous player, but
Mm.
you wouldn't want to limit him in what he can do out there.
So my thinking is that when the ball's on that side of the pitch, we need to be deferring to him. Like, look at that. Like, actually look at that. We need to be deferring him, saying, you get the shot. It's you. We want you to have the shot, basically. That's what we need to. We need to start respecting what he can do. Like, on the right hand side, you already know when Saka gets the ball. If Saka wants the shot, he will get the shot, kind of thing. Not just because of his ability, but because the team respects it. We don't have that threat on the left hand side, and I think I might sound greedy here, but it's what it takes in 2025 now. If you have 3 or 4 players in your forward line, which all teams respect their shots or their shot making ability, kind of thing, you're in business because you can't stop 4 players for 90 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So I'm I'm in the business of abundance now at this point. Whether Eze starts or not, which I have no doubt that he'll find a way to even like look at come on man like
I mean, that's a left winger, bro. like,
yeah
like I have
yeah,
no problems with him being I mean, look at that, man. He carries it
yeah,
from wide. He gets into the box. He does low dance. He finishes. What
mhm.
else do you want?
But again,
What else do you
one
want?
of our
Like,
main one of our main problems is what everybody else has. Let's look at the current European champions, regardless of how you think about how they won it. They have pace to burn. Eze is a wonderful player. He doesn't have pace to burn. So replacing Martinelli with him means you solve one problem, but you also create another one for yourself because automatically now you have to think about you have to get more creative with the way that you want to play and create goals. You can't like Martinelli made life so easy for us at times because of his pace. It's just there's
well,
nothing
well,
else to
well,
think of.
coach, I think it's context specific. Like,
Yeah.
like if you play a lineup that has Saka on one side and Eze on the other side,
Mm,
with Rice and Odegaard as the eights, then maybe again we mentioned Gyökeres a little earlier. Maybe that's the pace in the front line. It comes from the center forward, and he's pinning, pushing the line back, pushing the defensive line back, pinning that line, making runs into channels, allowing the strikers to come into the wingers and Eze and Saka to come into the middle. So I'm not particularly where, as long as there's one element of the. Now, if you're playing Eze, Havertz, and Saka, then I'm a little concerned. But if we're playing against a deep block, I'm a little less concerned about that because it's like, those guys are sitting back anyway. So really, we're trying to break down the block. So pacing behind is not the most crucial thing in those situations. It's really more about the intricate playmaking and all that.
so
But let me ask you the question I
as
asked.
I, go on.
I was gonna ask you the question I asked about Mosquera. Like, what
Yeah.
what about Eze? Is his superpower to your? I mean, there are probably a couple, but rank his top three qualities that you enjoy as you're watching this comp.
So shot creating, like he creating his own shot, he's just fantastic at it. Receiving it in difficult areas and making something happen. Like, look at that. Literally look at that. Like that is that's not an ideal space where you don't want Eze in his own half kind of thing, but he made shit happen, right? And I think the final one is probably it alludes back to the first one, but his actual final action, the ball striking off both feet, he doesn't really mind. He doesn't really mind. Like, that's just world class stuff there, man. Like making the game so easy for himself and for his teammates as well. Like the comp itself kind of speaks for itself, man. He's playing for Crystal Palace, who, by the way, let me be frank here. Like part of the reason why I parted with quite a bit of money over the last God knows how many years going to watch Crystal Palace is to watch this guy. Seriously, it's to watch this guy. Like, what obviously Zaha was there, Alicia was there, but Eze is someone that the commentators talk about. Oh, this is who you pay your money to see. Eze fits into that ground, into that mold 100%. Like, so yeah.
Mm.
Overall,
Mm.
we already know where this is going. This is going. Bring him. Just absolutely. Look at that, man.
Bring him, please. But
Look at like,
let's
look at
wrap
that.
the scouting
Seriously, man.
thing.
Just look at that.
Let's wrap the scouting thing up, Coach. The eye test clearly disagrees, but I was looking at his stats earlier, and his
Mhm.
carries are below average.
Mm.
Do you think this is a player problem or a system issue?
So I definitely think it's a, it's purely, to my mind, I think it's purely Crystal Palace, to be honest. Like the more looks, because if we're looking at it in depth, right, the more looks you get as an attacking player at a good side, the more it should scale up basically. Um, but for example, if we're looking at the where's it gone? Not defensive position. There we go. The carries that
Yeah, carries at yeah, that seems low given the player we were just watching in that comp.
exactly. You see what I'm saying? But it's Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace spend a lot of time defending, and you have to remember as well, they're playing a 3-4-3/3-5-2 at times. He's going to be doing a lot of defensive work. Hence, I saw a stat for him for last season in terms of the recoveries and ground rules, and I think he outranks almost every single Arsenal player on
Yes,
that.
he did. Every
So,
single not almost
yeah,
every single Arsenal player.
you see what I'm saying?
He loves the duels. The duels are for him.
You see what I'm saying? So again, you're not going to be doing that Arsenal as an attacking player. While you'll be pressing Arteta and watch your defensive work, that's not why we're buying you. It's good that you have that in your locker, and Arteta needs that from you. But he's not going to buy an attacking player to be doing defensive work, given our current creativity issues. So it should scale up. The one concern I will say among the carries is because teams, obviously, we're the team that faces the most deep blocks in Europe, kind of thing. How do you translate that? How quickly can you get used to being in the ascendancy most matches? Most match weeks, you're going to be the one expected to make shit happen. How quickly can you adapt to that?
Well, I think he scales up perfectly.
Hmm.
I think when you're a creative player where the value you provide your team is mostly on the ball,
Mm.
more of the ball is always better.
Yeah,
I think Eze gets even better around better players.
yeah.
So and that's no disrespect to Palace. They had a wonderful season, won the FA Cup, will play in Europe this season. Fantastic. Oliver Glasner, embarrassed Pep a couple times last season.
Mm,
Love it. But I don't see it as a problem for Eze to be exposed to more touches,
mm,
or to be next to players that are just as good or better than him in different ways.
mm,
So I think it's exciting. I think he's the sort of player that would have a multiplier effect on everyone around him because
mm,
of, like really for me, the most important thing about this link, besides the emotional aspect of it, given that he's an ex-Arsenal boy, all that
mm,
stuff, is just the invention and the imagination within him.
mm,
Like I think that's something that people often complain about Arteta's style of play, or let me not say often, but certain Arsenal fans feel like we haven't been as entertaining as we're traditionally known to be. Like this club has a certain rep, but
mm,
I think that's really just a function of the personnel. Like we just don't have certain kinds of players,
mm,
and the kind of player I really want to see is Eze.
mm.
Like this is a player that's creative in ways that even Odegaard isn't. Like
Yeah.
it's just natural to him. It's fluid. Like he doesn't know another way to be. Like Odegaard is a very naturally creative player, but he clearly, over the years, as he's developed, gone to Real Madrid, gone to Herenveen, gone to Vitesse, gone to Sociedad, he's developed the sort of this ability to modulate himself that
Mm,
allows the managers to trust him
mm,
and basically run the pressing structures and do all the off-ball stuff and keep the tempo.
mm.
And he's probably lost a little bit of his natural effervescence as an attacking, creative type player. Eze has lost nothing. That's
No.
all he knows. This is pure street cage ball type player. Like, and I think we need that.
So I'm glad you mentioned that last point. Eze plays like pretty much all the really good footballers I played with growing up. That's how that there's no like I could literally just think of any one of my friends playing that I used to play with in the cages and say that's Eze. That's the most encouraging thing about it. And all those players, there's one thing that they all have in common is the fact that they don't think, not in a rude way, but it's not. They have to think about it. It's natural. If the ball drops a certain way, they've already got the solution. The solution's already there. They already know what to do. Like the ball spins a certain way, they hit it with the instep rather than with the outside their foot because they know what the effect is gonna. You know what I'm saying? All those little nuances there, it's all stuff that you just get from just learning how the ball bounces because you've been doing all these things, all these drills, if you like. But the drills are really just you playing against guys that are 5-6 years older than you when you're a young buck because you got good close control, and then now it scales up into the professional game. You know, like Eze is as faithful as you'd want to someone that's keeping the fire alive, regardless of what you think of him. You know, making this move at 27 years old doesn't matter. He's always
Yeah.
played this way. So
Yeah, he's definitely a keeper of the flame. If anything, it took him this long to reach the pinnacle of the game because he couldn't quite translate it. He was a
yeah.
little too individual focused from what I understand. And over time he learned to blend that into the
hmm
team concept and it's all worked out. There are a lot of guys,
hmm
probably even more talented than Eze that never made it to the top because they
Of
could
course.
not figure out how to,
Mhm.
adjust. Like, Adel Tarap, for instance,
Mhm.
a player very similar in style,
Mhm.
like maybe even more skilled, more extravagantly skilled, but
I think
he just had to get that extra nutmeg in. He just had to, and the very top teams were like, we don't know, but
it's not like
he did
nobody
make it.
tried. He went to AC Milan. Like it's like nobody tried. Like they did. It's just like, come on, bro. We know you're better than everybody else here. Like, don't take the fucking
Just,
piss.
just, just keep it moving, man. Keep it moving. Keep the ball moving. Like you've created the advantage. Let's take advantage as a team. It
Mhm.
can't just be you all the time. That said, coach, Eze was not a player. I mean, he's always been on the radar as a player we want because of what he can do and how he plays. But he wasn't on the radar for this window. I think when the link popped up, everyone was surprised and very happy about it.
Mhm.
What does that say to you about how Andrea Berta is maybe planning to reconfigure the front line? Like, or I mean, what are you expecting the front line to look like by the end of the summer with this link
So,
included now?
so to answer the first part of the question, I think his clear mandate was, while we need, some defensive reinforcements and obviously need to get these other deals in midfield over the line in and out. What you'll be judged on in your first sort of 6 months is how the fuck you sort out this front line, basically. Hence why we've been linked. If you want to count, I think also have been linked to about 15 different forwards since the window opened, basically. And the fact that Madueke is there now, that's looking hella advanced now. The fact that Rodrigo is, all the signs are pointing to the fact that Arsenal are right there. We're the ones that it's gonna, if he's gonna move, it's gonna be to us. The fact that for the last God knows how many months it's been Gyökeres or Sesko, you know, and then all of a sudden Eze comes out of nowhere. It's kind of on brand if you think about it. It's kind of on brand for what we've seen from Berta so far at Arsenal. Might not be on brand for us as fans, what we used to see from our club, but for what Berta has done in these first 5-6 months, whatever it's been, he hasn't done anything that we should be surprised by from what he's doing, not from the previous like sort of sporting director. So having your fingers in all of the pies, that seems to be his approach. So don't be surprised if we're linked with somebody else as well. And we're hearing about things at an advanced stage. I'll give you an example, right? So we heard the Eze links this time last week. It was this time last Saturday, should I say, right? And before we know it, less than a week later, it's talking about, yeah, Arsenal are now contacting Crystal Palace directly. How quickly that's moved. The Noni links are not even a week old, and all of a sudden, personal terms have been agreed. This seems to me, do you know what I'm saying? Like, which we'll get to Noni and whatever you feel about it, but that seems to be Berta's approach. I'm not fucking around. Like, if we want a player, we won't fuck you around. We'll actually try and make something happen, kind of thing. So yeah,
Yeah, I gotta admit, coach, like for me, I felt as far as improving Arsenal's attack,
yeah.
will be more a matter of depth and different
Mhm,
profiles, not necessarily the very top of the pops quality. If you can
mhm,
get that, great. If not, just bring people in that will make sure that Saka's hamstring doesn't fall off the bone again next
mhm,
season. That said, this Eze link has
mhm,
it has got me in a chokehold, bro.
mhm,
Like I need it to happen. Like I
mhm.
don't want to go into next season without this player. And
Okay.
I didn't even think we were interested to begin with.
Okay. So I'll float an idea to you. Right, this is probably something we wouldn't need for our actual Arsenal pod later on, basically. But you have Declan Rice at the six. We're at home, by the way. We have Declan Rice at the six. Defense is whoever the fuck we want it to be. But we have Eze and Odegaard in front of him, and then we have Saka. Striker doesn't matter too much, by the way, to me. Then we have Saka, and then we have hopefully Rodrigo, kind of thing. All due respect, we know Odegaard's going to work hard and work back. We know Eze's going to work hard and work back, kind of thing. But do they actually have to, as long as Rice can essentially hit those dags to the wide men, basically, which he can, and we can build play from there. Because that front four, forget Ross the striker, should be able to create a shit ton of chances as long as the ball gets to them quickly. Can you see where I'm going with this? And that's where we're talking about. I'm not too precious about who misses out on where kind of, because there's gonna be games for everyone this season. There's going to be games for everyone. A lot of these teams that want to sit in mid blocks, okay, cool. We don't need Declan Rice high up the pitch to make sure that the other team's talented players don't make any headway. We'll just put them at a 6 and let our demons deal with you higher up themselves. There's gonna be games where we do need Zubimendi to help, move the ball quicker against well top organized teams kind of thing, because the chances won't be as frequent. So I'm not fussed on who plays and who doesn't play. Just get all the good players in and make the shit work for me.
All right. On that note, I think that will be enough of this SPS scouting session. Obviously, an Arsenal scouting session. But Coach, thanks for hanging out with me and discussing Cristhian Mosquera and Eberechi Eze. Hopefully, by the next time we put one of these out, they're both Arsenal players. That would be really nice. That'd be really nice. But Eze can't get the number 10 jersey, unfortunately. I don't think that's gonna happen. That's Rodrigo's, So we shall see.
Yeah.
We shall see. I don't know. It would be nice. I don't really care. I'm just talking.
That would be really cool.
All right, folks. Yeah, it'd be real nice. It'd be real nice. But I kind of feel like he'd be jumping the queue a little bit, man. Yeah, he's dope, but he hasn't achieved enough to wear the 10 at Arsenal yet. Like you gotta show us something first. Like you've shown other people something, you gotta show us something. Rodrigo, that guy has Champions League medals. He can wear the 10. It's cool. All right, folks. That's been the SPS Scouting Report. For Coach, this is Deen, and Coach, you know what to tell the people.
Peace.
Hey folks, this is Deen from the Shirtless Plantain Show. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and follow us on all our socials. You can see them right beneath our recordings in every video. Thanks again, and see you on the next one.